I guess that might be are we on here? Was that my cue? Did somebody hold up the scout sign? All right. Well, good morning, everybody. If you don't mind, I'm just going to stand here and pace a little bit, if that's agreeable. Great crowd today. You put out free coffee and donuts, and look what happened. So I'm delighted to be here. I know I've had a chance to meet some of you, and I want to extend my sincere thanks and appreciation on behalf of my family and me for the warm welcome we've received. We're really excited to be here. It's a little tough trying to do two jobs at once, and I'm trying to wrap up as well as I can at Southern Utah. They've been very good to us there, and I owe it to them to finish strong. And so I am focused on graduation, which is coming up in just a few weeks, and then, of course, the transition, our move out here. But please know that not a day goes by that I don't think about some of the tasks at hand here, and I'm trying my best to familiarize myself with some of the issues. And yesterday was a full day. Today will be a full day. And then tomorrow, my wife's not with me, but I have the task of trying to go out and find housing for our family. So you may have heard we've received permission from the chair of the board and the Board of Regents, given our young family and how busy that intersection is there at Crab and Lancaster. We will not live in the Blanton house. We'll still utilize it for various functions, but we want to be a part of the Richmond community and buy a home here and settle down. So we're delighted with that opportunity. If I could just say a word or two as kind of an introduction. Professors Sweet and Blythe, where are you? There we go. I wanted to thank them for hosting us today, and they sent me a very kind note. And today I want this to be real informal. I'll give you just kind of some introductory comments, and then I want to throw it open to all of you to ask whatever you'd like. One thing I've tried to do in my two presidencies before this one is to be as open and transparent and accessible as possible. So we have at least one, we call it a campus forum, each semester. One we do, of course, is kind of a welcome back in the fall. And then in the spring semester, we do one in concert with either the start of the legislative session or the conclusion. So it's a chance for faculty and staff to come and ask whatever they want and discuss whatever issues you all have on your mind. But that's in no way suggests that my office is not open in those kind of intervening months. On the contrary, I've told both Deidre and Lisa that my office is always open. I have an open email. I know some of you have received my messages back at 2 or 3 in the morning, and maybe I'm obsessive compulsive about returning messages, but that's just the way I am. And so I hope whatever's on your mind, you'll feel compelled, if you will, to come and talk to me about it, or send me a note or give me a call. By way of introduction, I've thought a lot about this opportunity and the expectations that you may have in a new president, and we certainly hope we'll live up to those expectations. I come from a family, I'm the youngest of 6 children. I have an older brother who's a political cartoonist for the Arizona Republic. He won a Pulitzer Prize in 1991, so I'll always be known as Steve's little brother. He's incredibly talented, and he's really kind of the smart aleck in the family. In between the two of us, I have 4 sisters, 2 of whom have master's degrees, one in social work, the other one in flute performance from North Carolina at Chapel Hill. My father went to Stanford University, got a master's degree in educational administration, and honestly, he wanted to do what I do. He wanted to be either a college administrator or a high school principal. And while he was at Stanford, he had a young family, and he saw a job ad in the paper to sell cookware, stuff called Renaware. Anybody heard of Renaware? It was pots and pans and stoneware, cutlery, and my father was an incredible salesman, and he started doing that while he was at Stanford, and he realized he could support a family doing that probably better than he could other things. And so that was his career. He became a regional manager for a cookware company. And my father passed away last summer at age 82. I'm a little somber today because today my sisters are moving my mom into an assisted living center because she's having some hard times with the passing of my dad. But my mom and dad are really the embodiment of what it means to be parents, in the sense that they gave their kids every opportunity that they never had. And I know those of you who are parents, that's really, I think, our goal as mentors and parents to these young kids that are kind of given to our charge of care, is to give them chances that we haven't had. So I really owe it to my mom and dad and to my family the great opportunities I've had in life. And my grandfather is the oldest of 11 kids from a small little town in southeastern Idaho, the first in his family to graduate from college. And he met his wife, my grandmother, at Utah State University. He went on and did a master's degree in agricultural economics at Iowa State, did postmaster's work at Cal Berkeley. And from these really humble beginnings, a town of about 40 people, a little town called Preston, Idaho, he became a member of Eisenhower's cabinet for all 8 years. He was the Secretary of Agriculture, and in many ways kind of this towering figure in our family, but more importantly, he was always our grandpa. And he took great interest in us as grandkids. I come from a large family. Our children, our little boy Talmadge was grandchild 34 for my mom and dad, so we're a prolific Mormon family. So, and I find my greatest satisfaction really in those relationships. My wife Debbie, when I married Debbie, I realized I married into a Notre Dame family. My 3 brothers-in-law all have MBAs from the University of Notre Dame, and I offered nothing at Sunday dinner during the conversation. And so I felt like I was somewhat compelled to follow that tradition. And 15 years after finishing my doctorate, I went back to school. I got a leave of absence for 2 summers from the State Board of Regents because I'd been a president for a while, and went back to school back in South Bend and took all those courses that I avoided as an undergrad, like stats and economics and finance and accounting. And it was great to be a student again. I actually went out and got a student loan to help pay for it. A lot of people didn't know who I was, and I didn't want them to know who I was. I was just a student like they were. But we were part of a 29-student cohort that included public school teachers and retired military, people that ran Catholic charities. As a Mormon at Notre Dame, I was somewhat of an enigma. But my brother-in-law had been the first in the family to go there, and it was a wonderful experience. And I have enormous respect for schools like that, a school of faith that also tries to be a really, really fine institution. And had a wonderful experience there. Last little bit of kind of a personal background, then I'll open it up. We'll give you kind of a summary of what I like to do here in the first few days. But I've thought a lot about what's happened the last few days. Next year marks the 30th anniversary of when I ran the Boston Marathon when I was 18 years old. And it's a tragedy what's happened there, because my father was at the finish line when I finished 30 years ago, where that tragedy happened on Monday. But I learned a really important lesson as an 18-year-old. I started running when I was about 8 or 9, and I did a lot of it, and I became somewhat proficient. I used to race a lot, 5 and 10Ks on weekends. But my dad, I'd never tried a marathon before, and a buddy of mine in Salt Lake said, hey, the Desert News Marathon's coming up, you got to give it a shot. So I never run more than 15 or 20 miles. So we started training. The marathon was in July. I did okay. I ran a 2:57 for my first shot. 2 months later was the St. George Marathon, which was a qualifier for the Boston Marathon. And there's a moral to the story, which to me is one of the most important lessons I could have learned. And my dad said, look, I'll tell you what, Michael, if you qualify for Boston, we'll go back there together. So I worked hard. I put in 50, 60, 70 miles a week. That pales in comparison to a young man I may have told some of you about at our school, who is the NCAA champion in both the 5 and 10,000 meters. His name is Cam Levins, and he runs 150 miles a week. he, to me, really embodies the phrase, many people have a will to win, few people have the will to prepare to win. But Cam won the Bowerman Award, which is the Heisman Trophy for track and field, back in December, and beat a sprinter from Florida and a sprinter from Illinois. And there have been a few moments in my career where I've been just incredibly proud of a little school, kind of the little school that could. And when I went down to Orlando for the announcement, here was the Southern Utah University banner next to Stanford and Oregon and LSU and Texas A&M, these incredible institutions with great track and field programs. But anyway, I was doing my best. I was preparing. This is back in the day before I even wore a watch to kind of keep tabs on my time. But they used to have people would wear a balloon on their wrist and have the kind of the targeted time. So I chose the targeted time. My goal was to run a sub 250 because that was the qualifying time for Boston. Well, I found the balloon and I stayed on the shoulder of this one particular runner. Didn't know kind of what my pace was until they told us at certain mile markers. And I've got about 2 miles to go, and I'm on pace to run about a 2:40 marathon. So I finished at 2:41, and my father was incredibly proud of me, and quite frankly, in the spirit of full disclosure among friends here, I was very proud of myself. And I really started running my mouth quite a bit. Boy, I'm going to run a sub 2:30. I may even qualify for the Olympic trials. I mean, you would have thought I was a Steve Prefontaine or something. I mean, it was, I really started running my mouth. Well, there's something that happens in Utah between October and April, and it's called winter. And, the student paper, I was a freshman at Brigham Young. The student paper did a story about this, this 18-year-old freshman who had qualified for Boston. I was one of 19 in the world that had qualified with a time under 2 hours and 50 minutes. So I was really proud of myself. And my mom and dad saw that. And my mom kept saying, hey, Michael, we're proud of you. That's great. Are you working hard? Are you focusing on your studies? Are you doing your mileage? Well, November turned into December, and my mileage started to tail off. And all of a sudden it gets to about February. And Patriots Day, of course, is mid-April. And there are two things you can't cram for. One is an inorganic chemistry final. And the second is a marathon. I mean, it's not like you wake up one day and say, a marathon's a week away. I'll start putting in my miles. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that they seed you according to your time, and you get a bib number. And for the people in the back with a slower time, it can take you up to 8 to 10 minutes when the gun goes off to get from your starting point to the actual starting point of the race. Fortunately, I was toward the front. There were about 120 Kenyans in front of me who were all very, very fast. But I was toward the front. The gun goes off. I take off. The adrenaline is rushing. It's about 38 degrees, and people had taken gobs of Vaseline. This is before Dry Fit and Under Armour. And so to try and keep your body heat in, they were just covered with Vaseline. And some people didn't even get off the bus to run. They didn't want to pull a hamstring. In retrospect, maybe I should have been one of those people. But anyway, 5 miles into the race, I was tired. I mean, I was really tired. And I thought to myself, my dad paid for me to come back here. He's here. He's waiting for me at the finish line. I just got to suck it up here and finish this race. Well, my goal, again, back to what I told you about the pace time, I knew the times I needed to hit. And there was this sinking feeling as I got to each of those times, and I wasn't anywhere close to where I wanted to be. And I finished the race. I ran a 2:52, which was, that's respectable, but it was far off of what I wanted to run. And my dad, after the race, said, Michael, you did well. I'm proud of you. Congratulations. But you learned a valuable lesson, didn't you? And I said, yes, Dad, I did. I mean, you can talk all you want. You can talk a good fight. You can say we want to do this, we want to do that. But unless you do what? You invest the time and the energy and the effort, there's no matter of talk that can ever make up for hard work. And that was a really important lesson for me to learn as an 18-year-old kid. The opportunities I've been given in life, I am so grateful for them. This is one of those opportunities, and I'm going to back up that opportunity with an enormous amount of work. It's going to take hard effort on our part. It's going to be a collaborative effort with all of you. We have a lot of work to do here, but I'm up for it, and I hope you all are up for it. In kind of thinking about what we'd like to discuss today, again, I want to throw it open for questions, but there's several things I'd like to kind of address as we move forward. As I've had a chance to go around and talk to folks, I know there are a lot of people with questions on their minds. It's a time of uncertainty. Kind of, you look at higher ed writ large across the country, our problems are not unique. State support is dwindling all over the United States. So we're going to have to look at the Budget Reallocation Committee and the recommendations. I know I met with Jana yesterday, and I know they're meeting tomorrow. I know they've put in a tremendous amount of effort and hard work, and I really tip my hat to them. These are not easy decisions to make. And I know that collectively we can make it through this difficult time period. This institution has been around for a long time. The school where I am now was founded in 1897 through the hard work and grit and determination of this kind of undeterred group of settlers that were given the charge to form a branch normal school. You have similar roots, and I have enormous respect for the heritage that is here, and for those of you who have given your careers to Eastern Kentucky. Yes, I'm the newcomer, but I'll show you my respect for you as lifetime employees, those of you who have given your entire lives to this place. I'll show you my commitment through the hard work and the effort that we'll put forward. I'm doing a lot of listening right now. I'll continue to do that. Our plan is to start officially August the 1st, but there's several things that I think are important to do in the interim, and then from that moment forward. I think Deidre told me our welcome back meeting is the 14th of August. Does that sound right? Anybody? So we'll have a chance to talk then about kind of our 100-day plan, if you will, of what I'd like to accomplish in the first 100 days. But a couple things to me strike me as really important right now. First is to determine kind of what EKU is, what its perception is out there, what is our position as it relates to messaging, who we want to be moving forward. I know Professor Blythe sent me a note about this idea that maybe we can capture a unique mission or a unique niche for the university as Kentucky's creative university. I don't know how many of you read the book, The Rise of the Creative Class. Anybody? Richard Florida, professor at Carnegie Mellon, talks about the Industrial Revolution, the history of manufacturing in the United States, goes through the 18th, 19th, early part of the 20th century, and argues that America in the 21st century, to make its kind of role in the world kind of further demarcated, has got to be the creative, the place for ideas, creativity. And that's certainly one, I think in many respects they've hit the nail on the head. But there are a lot of things that we can talk about, and hopefully today I'll hear from you what your thoughts are. I've got some experience at fundraising. I really enjoy it. I enjoy it because you can twin a donor's desires, his or her inclinations toward philanthropy, with worthy causes, and there's no more satisfying feeling than getting the two to meet. Before I came out here, our CFO, and I told a few of you this yesterday, the development team I met with last night, we are wrapping up a campaign at Southern Utah University, almost $100 million we've raised. We're at $88 million right now. I've got a few more months to land $12 more million, so be happy to take any checks you have on the way out today. But our CFO came in and handed me the tally of actual cash. These aren't pledges, these aren't planned gifts, these aren't charitable remainder trusts. These is actual cash that has come into the university since 2007 when we started. And that number is $53 million. And that is a number we're very proud of, because that is not just money. That's scholarships, that's facilities, that's endowed professorships. Those are resources that have transformed our institution. And so we're going to take a hard look at how we can position the university to launch a major comprehensive campaign that won't make up the shortfall from state support, because we'll continue to go after that, but can add that what I call that margin of excellence, the things that can set us apart from our local competition and from other schools in our region. Another important thing I'd like to take a look at that we've undertaken at Southern Utah, we've used Coupa data to look at salary compression across campus. That's an issue in a lot of institutions. And through the use of tuition dollars, some state dollars, we've gotten people from about 84% of average 4 years ago to almost 95% of Coupa averages. And that has had a huge ameliorative impact on our campus. Like it or not, how you view yourself and your role at the university, at any institution, is often associated or tied to a salary. And I want to make sure you all feel valued and appreciated, and you're paid what you should be paid compared to your peer averages. So that's something that we're going to take a real hard look at as well. Last thing I'll say, and then I'll open up to questions, is my mother came from a small farming community in southern Alberta, Canada. Didn't have a lot growing up. She's a piano teacher, and she instilled in all of us a love of music and kind of the finer things in life that give life its, in many ways, its meaning and its timbre. But she taught all of us that if you want to do something, you do it well. And you don't do anything half-baked. You don't put forward a mediocre effort. There was a lot expected of us as kids, and I've tried to bring that same approach to my professional life. We're not going to do anything just kind of halfway here. The way we're going to distinguish ourselves as an institution is we're going to choose what we do well, recognize the things we do well, and do them even better. We can't be everything to everybody, but the things that are asked of us or that we choose to do, we're going to do really, really well. And that's going to be what sets us apart from other places. Case in point, my mom wanted a new piano. And she knew that the finest piano made was a Steinway. And she could ill afford a Steinway piano. But I watched my mom teach piano lessons for about 10 years before she could afford to buy a Steinway upright. And that was the happiest day in my mother's life when that Steinway was delivered to our home. And the fruit of all of her efforts in saving and working hard and getting the best. Again, we didn't have a lot, but that was something to her that represented a tremendous amount of sacrifice to get the best. So we're going to be the best that we possibly can be in the areas that we choose to do what we do. But that's kind of an overview, I think, of what I'd like to kind of help frame our conversation today. And with that, I'll be happy to open it up to questions. Great. Thank you for coming so much. Anybody? Yes, sir. Will you please tell me who you are and what you teach or where you work?
Ron Smith, and I teach English to international students who want to improve their skills enough to enroll at a college or university. Eastern Kentucky University is where most of them wind up. I'm wondering about your experience as a marathoner. Do you see the presidency of Eastern Kentucky University of you running another marathon, or the first 100 days going to be a sprint?
Well, it's hot enough in here. I think I'm going to lose weight just standing up here today. Talk about, and I'm learning more and more about horses as we move here to Kentucky. But you know about show horses, you know about work horses. In high school, I ran what I think is the hardest race that there is in track and field. That's the 800 meters, because it's too short to be a full-out sprint, or too long to be a full-out sprint, and a little too short to really kind of pace yourself. So I think I would take the approach that we're not going to bite off more than we can. We're going to determine exactly what we can accomplish and then set to it. As I said before, we're going to set some lofty, I think, goals that are going to make it stretch. I told the fundraising folks last night, I said, I hope you all are in for this, because, I mean, it's going to be a lot of work. We're going to set out some really clear demarcations in terms of what we're going to do as an institution. Again, achievable goals, but I see it as more, I mean, to use a racing analogy or a track and field metaphor, it's probably about a 5,000 meter race. We're going to train really hard. We're going to do all we can to prepare, but we got a lot to do in a short amount of time. So I hope you're all up for it, because we'll get started right when we hit the ground here on August the 1st.
By the way, your brother's a great cartoonist.
Well, Steve describes his job as a cartoonist as going down the hill after the battle and shooting all the wounded. So that's kind of his worldview. He gets up in the morning and says, who am I going to make fun of today? And I'm just glad that I've never been, at least in public, the target of his pen. He's done cartoons of all of us. He's a really creative guy. I hope to bring him out here, because he does a kind of a presentation on the history of political cartooning from Benjamin Franklin up to the present day. And it's really fascinating. He's a really clever, you don't win a Pulitzer, I mean, just by hanging out. So I hope I can bring him to campus. Yes, sir.
I'd like to present you with a couple of books.
Oh, thank you.
One is The History of Eastern Kentucky
Yep.
University, written by me.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, wally cow. There we go.
These are good sleep aids. At night, you read 2 or 3 pages, and they'll put you right to sleep.
Yeah.
But welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And I'm happily retired, and this is really a school of opportunity. We have a lot of graduates here, right? And it gave me an opportunity to become a historian after failing as a high school football coach. And it is a wonderful place.
Well, thank you. It's
welcome.
very kind of. We'll do a book exchange, and I'll put you to sleep with my book.
All right.
By the way, when I was announced, I had a note came out of nowhere of a Utah transplant who taught here in Kentucky. I think he was at Morehead State, but he recommended Night Comes to the Cumberlands. And it just arrived in my office yesterday. I bought it on Amazon, but I got plenty of reading to do. So thank you. I appreciate that very much. Yes, in the back, please.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
I know everybody's very glad to see you here. My name is Doris Pierce. I'm the endowed chair in occupational therapy. And but I'm going to speak from a new position as president of our chapter of the AAUP here at EKU. And I'd love to hear your perspective on shared governance.
Well, thank you. I met with Amy yesterday. I think Amy's on her way to an AAUP meeting. Shared governance to me is kind of part and parcel of what a university is all about. There are things I'm going to leave to the faculty to decide. To Jana's office as it relates to advancement and rank and tenure, hiring, faculty policies that you all know more about than I do. And I would hope that there would be things that you kind of leave to us as administrators to make decisions that are in the best interest of the university. As I told Amy yesterday, and I want to thank Malcolm too for, where is Malcolm? I want to thank Malcolm for his service. From what I understand, it was a well-fought campaign, and I want to commend everybody that ran. I actually watched the entire hour and 5-minute presentations from all the candidates, and I want to thank publicly Malcolm for his service and welcome Amy to the board. I told Amy yesterday, it's kind of nice because I've gone from 26 bosses down to 11. So I'm headed in the right direction, but I really look forward to working with the Board of Regents. And as I told Amy, my administration here, if there's any sort of hallmark of that, it's going to be that we're collaborative, that we're transparent, that there are issues for you as the head of the AAUP on campus you want to come talk to me about. My office is always open. I'll come to your office. And that kind of give and take between the administration and the faculty is part and parcel of what a university is all about. I'm no linguist, but they tell me that the prefix and the stem of the word university is the same in just about every language, both Romantic and even Slavic languages in Europe, languages where, or countries where Romantic languages are spoken. And what is university? Uni, what? One. Verse, to turn. So the name suggests where we work, a turning to one. Now that doesn't mean we all agree. We don't all sing from the same hymnal at the same time. We are different people with different perspectives. But a university, if you can't have an open dialogue like we're having today and an exchange of ideas, then you can't have that anywhere, I would argue, in our society. So I am all for, and I sent you that quote from Kingman Brewster about what a university is and should be, a place where you as a faculty member and myself as an administrator can get together. We can agree to disagree perhaps on issues, but we can have that exchange of ideas. And so to me, shared governance is all about trust between entities on campus and give and take and compromise. Now that said, I'll also say on my desk, in fact I'm headed back out to the Truman Library this summer to give a talk to 100 civics teachers from across the country. Every summer the Truman Library does a year in Truman's presidency. And this year it happens to be 1948, which is the year I studied a lot about. And the first time I went there, they gave me the little placard that he had on his desk. On the back side it says, "I'm from Missouri." And on the front side it says, "The buck stops here." And as president, I understand that concept, that ultimately I'm responsible. But to get to that final decision, there are a lot of steps along the way, and I'm going to solicit from all of you input from my administrative team. But decisions are not made in a vacuum. I mean, I don't just categorically say this is, let it be written, let it be done out of the Coates Administration Building. So I understand the buck does stop on my desk, but I expect a lot of input from all of you to get us to that final decision. I hope I've addressed it. Yes?
Yeah, I'm Ron Wolf, president of the EKU Retirees Association. You've already met one of our members, Bill Elton, about Perilous there. We have about 200.
Well, where's the book? Are you going to give me a book?
Bring the book. And sort of to follow up with that question, we have a lot of active retirees here in Madison County and Joint County. We have about 271 active members of our association. Sometimes I get the sense that we're kind of out of the loop and left out of the loop. But I think there's an intense loyalty among our members, and I would like to hear how you might use that to fundraise or do whatever.
Well, first of all, I thank you for your service. How many years were you on campus?
I was here 35 years.
See? You know a lot more about the place than I do. So number one, I would rely on the retirees, your Emeritus Association, to help us familiarize ourselves with the history of the place and some of the issues. One thing we did at Southern Utah when I first got there, I had the representative from that group come and see me and say, do you know when we retire, they cut off our email access? And I said, no, I didn't know that. So the next day we changed that. So when you leave campus on your own volition, your email address will always be eku.edu if you want that. I don't know if you have that right now. Okay. That was a kind of a minor thing, but it had a huge kind of positive impact on the people that felt in some ways kind of disenfranchised, if you will. Another thing we did is we started coming to the Emeritus functions that they invited us to. Okay, we will be there, and I'll bring Debbie and the kids if that's all right. Through that email that you still have connected to campus, I know we have an active PR office that kind of sends these blasts out. I would hope that keeps all of you informed, that you always feel welcome on campus, whether it's for functions like this or for lectures or concerts or whatever. I know Professor Mankiw was on campus last night. I wanted to come to that, but I had dinner with the mayor and didn't have a chance to do that. But whatever, I guess at its core, it comes down to, I hope the Emeritus Association always feels welcome here and always has a place at the university, because like you gave years and years of service to it. I'd also like to sit down with them and talk to them about their role in the campaign. One thing that we did at SUU is we faced some difficult budget decisions, and we had to cut some positions here and there, is we put some of these folks back to work in adjunct positions. I'm not here to advocate that we hire more adjuncts. That's another issue for another day, because I think at our core we're all about full-time faculty in the classroom in those small classes. But there are a lot of ways we can use the emeriti, and I am open to any suggestions you might have and want to put you to work if you want to be put to work. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Linda Frost. I'm the Honors Program Director of Welcome. We're really glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'm curious, and I sort of wanted to let you know about something that was going on too with honors here, but I'm curious what role you think, it's a very specific question, what role you think an honors program, honors college, honors education has in a university, for the university, what function there?
Well, the first thing, and I'm going to put a plug out there, if you would let me teach a class in the honors program, I would be honored. I mean, that was kind of a bad pun, but I would love to teach a class if you'll have me. Because I've taught undergrad, I've taught grad classes, and I've taught honors classes, and I found the students in the honors program that I associated with, all students were great. This particular group was really motivated. Now, it's not to say that that's the case everywhere, because you can extrapolate from a small group certain things, but the honors program, to me, is one of those hallmarks that distinguishes an institution from other places. The one that I taught was more kind of like a senior seminar. We had 12 students. These are often students that know exactly why they're in the program and where they want to go. They're highly motivated. I try to push them as hard as I could, because sometimes they come in with maybe a little inflated view of their academic standing. I'm all about inclusion, but I'm also about those kids that want to push themselves and do a little bit more to be part of a program like an honors program. So I would like to take a real kind of soup to nuts look at what you're doing and be a part of it. So I think it's a really important, integral part of a university.
We have a pretty exciting venture in that we're renovating a residence hall into an honors center, which would make it the second one in the state of Kentucky. So that project is running right now, so hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about that.
Well, we have an honors floor in our one of our dormitories, beg your pardon, they don't call them that anymore, one of our residence halls. We have an honors floor, and you don't ever want to create an environment where kids say, oh, well, we're better than everybody else. But you also want to create a place where, for example, in my undergraduate experience, I had roommates that after we lived together our junior years, chose to go live in the Italian house. And because we all spoke Italian, I had served an LDS mission in Rome, Italy, and they wanted to pursue Italian language. And there's no better place to do it than an environment where after class you're speaking Italian all day. So, the parallel there I hope you see is that if you can create an environment like that for honor students, I think it's a great idea. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Terry Meloff, Department of Psychology, and I really appreciate you being open to having this fireside chat. I also am I'm on the Faculty Senate and chair of the Faculty Welfare Committee, and one of our charges is to look at the benefits that we receive and compare that to our benchmark universities. We also have this term called looking at welfare issues. And so as a committee, we were unsure about exactly what would be our welfare issues. So as any good researcher, we sent out a survey. And so we have some preliminary data at this point, and I'd just like to share that with you. Some of the top issues at this point are faculty workload, so that you're just aware of what people are talking about. The expectation of 24-hour availability online. Mm-hmm. We did a survey just within the Department of Psychology with our students to see what was their preference as far as communication with faculty. And it no longer is sitting in the office with office hours waiting for students to come. It really is through online, through email, with the expectation, of course, that they get immediate response when it's 11:30 at night and they have a question to complete their papers or whatever. So our jobs are extending into this more 24/7 atmosphere. Also, we had a number of years ago changed our mission so that we moved scholarship into the number 2 position, recognizing how important scholarship is. And so there's a lot of encouragement certainly on this campus for us to work with students. Most of us really enjoy working with students with research, but there is no compensation, there's no recognition. There is, you still have your full teaching load. Now we have this additional piece, and people are very concerned with this. The last issue that has come up, which is very recent, has been because of the budgetary issues that we have, one of the benefits that we have received that's unique to EKU is 12 hours of tuition waiver for our dependents, our partners, and they're looking at cutting that back. And I've received an awful lot now. The emails I'm receiving, of course, are people who are against it, so I only have that perspective. But my concern is that we have faculty, very good faculty, who have chosen here because of that benefit, who really have who certainly would be welcome at other universities and would be open to looking at that because of that. So I want to make you aware of just what those top issues at this point are.
Thank you very much. Amy and I talked about workload last night as it was specific kind of to her area. I know that's always an issue. I know benefits are always a question of concern for both faculty and staff. I want to address just the last one, and if I can get a copy of or send me an email of your notes, that would be helpful. And I don't want to say too much because I know Jana and the committee is meeting, Jim and others, the budget reallocation. But I expressed this yesterday to Jana. We are an educational institution. Kind of our coin of the realm is education. And to limit that or restrict it, access to that is really anathema, in my mind, to who we are and what we stand for. So if there's any way we can look at other areas as opposed to reducing or severely limiting access for you, for your spouses, for your partners, for your dependents, that's something I would heartily support. I'll make a note of that. My first round of applause was on that issue. So I feel very, very strongly about that because we had the same issue at Southern Utah. Now, that said, we have to kind of strike a balance as to what we can afford to do, but boy, oh boy, I would love to see as many people avail themselves of the chance to have access to what we provide, which again is that those educational opportunities. So you could count on me to be a really strong advocate for access. Yes, sir.
I'm Brett Morris. I'm the Director of Admissions here, but you're aware of our position as a military helpful institution. Interested in how you see that figuring into where we go forward.
Well, let me start first off to all the veterans in the room who've worn the uniform. I extend my sincere thanks. I've got 2 nephews that are Air Force Academy grads who are both active pilots, and so I've seen it from a family perspective, what my sister goes through and her husband, who's also retired military. I know we shouldn't have regrets in life. My hero, Harry Truman, was once described by Dean Acheson, his Secretary of State, as to him, the most admirable trait that Truman had was, as Acheson said, he was completely devoid of regret, which is the most disabling of all human emotions. Because think about it, regret is something, you regret things that are in the past and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But if I have one regret, it's that I didn't have a chance to serve in the military, because I've seen in my own family what that means. And I commend the institution for being as military-friendly as it is. I know it's received all sorts of accolades and recognitions, and I would 110% continue to push that and make sure this is a place where our returning veterans, wherever they're coming from, feel like this is a home, that we have infrastructure in place that can handle them and the challenges that they have, and make sure that we put them in a position to succeed. So I'm not going to mess up a good thing, because obviously you all know what you're doing, and I'll support it 100%. And I would add this, kind of a postscript. The greatest public policy decision of the 20th century, to my mind, was the GI Bill. That America, collectively as a country, said thank you to what Tom Brokaw called the greatest generation by doing what? Providing access to education, which transformed the lives and generations of countless people. Yes, sir.
My name is Jason Marin. I'm a professor of environmental health. And first of all, welcome to Eastern. I'm glad to have you. One of the challenges that you probably heard a lot about when you first, were looking and learning about the university was our retention issues. And when we talk about faculty responsibilities and time invested with our students, we spend quite a bit more than many universities do on our students. We have great teachers, great researchers here, and we could probably do more research and more creative work if we were able to better utilize our time with our students. And I'm going to be very crass or very candid. We have a lot of students at this university where we're the school of opportunity, where we've sometimes admitted students that arguably may not be best suited for higher education, and unfortunately, or at least what I would say 4 or 5 year institutions at this point in time, where maybe a junior or technical college might better suit them. And we've got good partnerships with the Kentucky community and technical college system. And I would just ask, where other programs are available in the KCTCS program, maybe we ought to consider better utilizing those resources. Our transfer admissions are down. That's hurt us a little bit with regards to the folks in Frankfurt. And I would strongly encourage you that during your first 100 days or even first year on the job, as you're touring the different counties, interacting with school district leaders, we at least engage in a conversation of what are the expectations of Eastern with our incoming, particularly high school students. Because I don't know if the expectations are well understood by the teachers and well understood by the students. And I would say that we've maybe even engaged in a little bit of mission creep with regards to what the KCTCS programs are there to do. And I'm not saying that nobody should, these students deserve an education. Mm-hmm. And we do have an obligation to ensure that they are educated. Eastern Kentucky is responsible, EKU is responsible for helping build the middle class of Eastern Kentucky. Without us, they wouldn't be able to get the people with the ideas and the jobs, but we really need to think about how we can better serve those students that may not have had, I guess, adequate high school education to prepare them for college, because we're using high quality, faculty and researchers who will spend the time and go way beyond the time that they would really be required to at another institution, because they care about what they do. So I'm just encouraging you or asking for your help as you're interacting with our community leaders to just have that conversation. How do we serve these students? How do we work together? And maybe Eastern isn't their first stop if they're underprepared. And we're part of the problem. We put some teachers in the high schools who may not be able, or at least the university, or at least the school board will say, well, they're your teachers teaching them. Well, I mean, we've got to do this all together. Yeah. And I would encourage you to at least, it's such a difficult issue, because I don't want to see people get turned away. We mean a lot for the service region, but we gotta do something. And I don't know if the university is the appropriate place for a 17, 18 student to come in right out of high school. So, it's just some just some food for thought. This was a conversation, and I appreciate your interest in helping those students.
Well, let me say at the outset, I completely concur with what you said. I mean, think those of you who can think back to your undergraduate days and remember how a faculty member impacted you. I think back to my junior year. It was an advanced English composition course I was taking. I was an English minor. And the professor asked to see me after class. And I went in her office, and she said, "Michael, you're actually a pretty good writer, but you're a little lazy. And with some hard work and more writing, you could actually become pretty good." That was the first time I had heard, I didn't heard it in high school. That was the first time I had a faculty member tell me I was good at writing. And I cannot tell you what an impact that had on me and kind of my self-worth, if you will, as a college student. I will never, ever diminish the role that faculty have in having a positive, and there's a flip side to that, and sometimes a negative impact on a student by what you say and how you mentor a student. I've had the unique opportunity of being the president of a two-year school as well. And I can tell you, I know exactly the kind of students you're talking about who maybe matriculate, enroll, and they don't have their academic sea legs under them quite yet. Brent, I'd be curious, of the freshmen that come to EKU, how many declare a major within their first or second semester?
We probably start off with about 600 to 800 that do not have a major when they arrive. How quickly they do that.
Now, thank you, I appreciate that. I changed my major like probably a lot of you 4 or 5 times. Anatomy is what scared me away from being a doctor. And it's probably a good thing I found that out early. Then it was economics, and it was English. I finally settled on history. But those 600, 800 students, not that they're not good students, but those are the kind of folks that, as we've captured them at SUU, we put them into university college because they don't have a declared major where they can go and get specific advising. And we are even more intrusive in helping them kind of determine where they need to go if they do need remediation. I'm at a place now where our incoming ACT score has gone up 2 percentage points in 4 years. And we did that because we raised the index. We expected more of the students when they came to campus. And if you were to ask our faculty, what kind of impact has that had on teaching? The class discussions are better. These students are better prepared. They're ready to tackle college-level work. Now, it sounds to me like we're not in a position to do that, and we've got to come up with a plan to make sure, well, it sounds like we're doing all right in terms of finding a home for these students that do need that remediation. But that is a issue that I'm going to take a hard look at. As it relates to tenure decisions, how that fits into the other requirements. From what I hear you saying, is that the best use of time for those first-year students to get that kind of mentoring, if you will, from the faculty when maybe professional advisors along the way? And I know there's a plan that I don't want to speak out of school here, but I don't want to short-circuit the process that's ongoing. But I want to take a hard look at what our advising situation is and what our plans are moving forward. But again, back to your point, I completely concur. It doesn't do the taxpayers of the state of Kentucky any good or these students if we can't put them in position to be ready and to succeed when they come and step foot on campus. Yes, ma'am.
Morning. I'm Alice Jones. I'm the director of the Office of Sustainability and the Environmental and Sustainability Program here on campus, aka EKU's Green Diva. And I'd just like to know what kind of maybe speak a little bit to your leadership in this area in the past, and maybe what we might expect of your leadership here as you come to EKU.
Well, thank you. You know this, but they do all sorts of longitudinal studies as to what students looking for a university or college want in an institution. And it doesn't surprise any of you, I'm sure, that in the last 10 years, in the top 3 is how green a campus is. So it's good for us. It's good for our students. At Southern Utah, we were just ranked the 121st most green institution in the world. It's a ranking of, I think, of 4,000 or 5,000 different universities. And we've done that with, of course, things that you're all familiar with, xeriscaping. We have the first ever LEED certified gold building in the southern part of the state of Utah. The state mandates that you have to be at least LEED silver for every state-funded facility. And we kind of upped the ante there and went all the way to gold status. Simple things like putting out drinking fountains that have a little counter on it that using this filtered water, you've saved X amount of plastic bottles. I don't know if we have those here.
We have 5.
Okay.
Across all of campus.
I'd like to see some more. Recycling. All those things. I found in my experience that sustainability is not inexpensive, but it is a signal of good stewardship, and it's a signal from the institution that we care about our carbon footprint, and that we're trying to inculcate in our students this commitment to having them care as well. So I'd like to see what we do here and improve upon it, build on it. It sounds like you've already gotten a start, but I'm proud of what our team has been able to do at SUU. And you're welcome to go on our website. We have a Center for Sustainability, and you can take a look at what we've done. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Donna Gassett, and I'm with Facility Services. I'm sorry I can hardly talk. My question, welcome, first
Thank
of all. My question would be, what goals or what steps could be taken to make sure our students are graduating on time? I have a daughter here that had to take 22 more hours because the advisor messed her up. So, she's in school longer. She's from kindergarten now, has not missed a day of school. And I'm very proud of her, but I just kind of want to know the goals and steps that could be taken for that. She's still here. Hopefully she can graduate in May.
What is she studying?
She's pre-med.
Pre-med. Good for her. Well, first, congratulations to your daughter to almost be done. I'm sorry about the advising. I can't speak to that because I don't know the specifics, but that's, unfortunately, I've heard that before. Some of the onus, I think, well, let me back up and say, the 6-year graduation rate, there's certain metrics that we're going to focus on here at EKU. We've taken our 6-year graduation rate at SUU from 39% to 45% in 6 years. And that gets more attention and commendation from state legislators than anything else that we do. That speaks to our efficiency. It speaks to the fact that we are stewards of tax dollars, and we're trying to get our students through in an efficient sort of way. So that retention and graduation, those are two areas that I know we can improve on. It sounds to me like we're trending in the right direction, and I'm going to focus a great deal of time, attention, and resources on improving those metrics. And good luck to your daughter. How long are we? I didn't mean that. That didn't sound right. 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
Today I'm the Director of Women and Gender Studies. I'm also an Associate Professor in the English Department. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm very happy to see representation in the President's Office from the humanities. I have a question based on your history as well as your vision for the students who don't realize when they start college that they might experience some kind of personal violence. The rate is still 20 to 25% of women and 3 to 5% of men. What experience have you had in those areas of prevention as well as response?
Well, first off, I'll tell you this. We get that question, the O'Leary Act and all the other stuff that's out there as it relates to reporting statistics to the federal government, the requirements of each campus. We get questions from parents all the time. Will my child be safe? And it kind of harkens back to what kind of environment do we create? Does a student, regardless of their persuasion, the way they look, what they believe, does that student feel comfortable on our campus and feel safe? That to me is one of the most important, if not the most important hallmark, because a safe environment leads to a learning environment where that student can flourish. So I come from a certain background. That background has taught me to respect and appreciate and admire people that are different from the way I am. And so you're going to see in my administration an appreciation for all those aspects and doing everything we can to make sure our students do feel safe. Unfortunately, we've had incidents. Most recently, it's been with our international students. Unfortunately, we have, and I was talking to some folks yesterday, we have a concentration of Saudi students. And I know the Saudi student population ebbs and flows based not on what we do, but oftentimes based on the government in Washington, D.C. determining what kind of majors they want coming over from Saudi Arabia. But we've gone out of our way. Our provost at SUU speaks fluent Arabic, and he sat down with the Saudi students and in Arabic told them what was expected of them and what they could expect of us. But you've got to create that environment where a student does feel safe. So you have my promise that we'll put resources into to whatever it takes to create that. And to send a strong message when unfortunate incidents happen, that will not be countenanced. That's not what we're about. Yes, sir.
Dr. Benson, welcome to EKU. We're
Thank
very
you.
happy you're here. I'm Marcus with the Public Relations Office, and what is your preliminary view of the viability and future of model school?
Well, I think I can answer that that question with an easy response that my two children are going there. I say my little one Talmadge is only 2, so Truman will be in 1st grade and Tatum will be in kindergarten. And I can't tell you how excited I am. I think we'll park over in wherever I park. I hope I can find a parking place. But we'll park close, we hope, to the Coates building, and then I'm going to walk them over to school. And I can't wait to have that experience because I've never had that before. Believe me, I've done a little bit of research on model. I've talked to model graduates. It's a proud tradition. I understand that it's a facility that needs some attention. It's true that the tuition, I think we may need to do a little bit with the tuition as it relates to our university subsidy of model. In talking to the education faculty yesterday, I know that there's an inextricable link between what they're doing and what goes on at model. I'd love to see that enhanced, further strengthened. We're going to be members of the PTA over there. And I am just so excited to see how it works and see how my children do there. So I guess I'm kind of a biased consumer right now. And again, and I said to the education folks yesterday, this is no way because I know people might say, oh, well, he doesn't want to send his kids to Whitehall or wherever. It's not that at all. We just figured, boy, this is what a wonderful resource, and we're going to avail ourselves of it. And somehow we snuck our kids in on the list. So we're really happy with that. So,
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Dr. Louisa Summers. I'm in the Department of Exercise and Sports Science, and welcome.
Thank you.
My question is regarding faculty workload and providing compensation. And how do you feel about differentiated workload and mentoring of theses and capstone projects versus lectureships? And valuing faculty that do research and providing mentors versus faculty that do teach and mentor in that way.
I know thank you for the question, each campus has different metrics or percentages, if you will, as it relates to service and collegiality and scholarship, mentoring, that sort of thing. I need to take a look at our policies here. And I would be a strong advocate for allowances, if you will, both monetary and otherwise, for those faculty that choose to do that and want to do that, because that can have a huge positive impact on our students. The foreword to my book was written by Stan Taylor. Now, Stan Taylor was the chairman of the Department of Political Science at Brigham Young when I was an undergrad. And I cannot believe the chutzpah I had to go and see him as often as I did. because he was incredibly, I mean, now where I sit, I know how busy department chairs and deans and other folks are, but every time I went to see him, guess what he did? He put everything aside, and he met with me and talked me through my application for graduate school, my research interests, and that to me is kind of a model that I've tried to adopt in my own professional career. I can't tell you what that meant to me individually. Now, did the university compensate Stan for that? I don't know if they did or not. Chances are they probably didn't. But I'd like to see some kind of, see what we do here right now for faculty that take on additional responsibilities as it relates to research and mentoring. Last thing, if I may, last thing I want to say, and I meant to say this at the very beginning, is one, I can't tell you how excited we are to be here. I listened to an interview the other day on the radio of Niall Ferguson, he's British, he teaches at Harvard, and he was talking about his experience of teaching in America, but having come from England. And on NPR, they asked him, "What's your impression of American students?" He said, "I just don't find them curious enough." And if there's anything we can do together as an EKU family, it's to be curious. It's to ask questions, to find out things about things we don't know a lot about. I go through phases in my life. I went through an aviation phase a little while ago where I read Howard Hughes' books on him and Amelia Earhart, and that was just kind of one of those things where Charles, what's his name? Lindbergh, Charles Lindbergh. Yeah, Charles, what's his name? Yeah. I mean, think about it. Flying across the Atlantic at some points only 20 feet above the water with no navigation system other than the stars and a couple maps. I mean, think about what it took to do that. And the point is, I hope we all, regardless of where we are in our kind of trajectory, in our career, in our life, that we stay curious. Because that, to me, is what a university is all about. We could not be more excited to be here. Thank you so much. I hope, Professor, we'll have a chance to do this on a regular basis.
We will set one up immediately, probably in the second week of the
Perfect.
Fall semester, and we'll try to do it as regular as you want to do it.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you.